learners, welcome to TryWrite. Today, moving further, we will get to know about arrays. So what is an array? It's a collection of elements of same data type stored in contiguous memory. Contiguous memory, what does it state? It states that data is stored in adjacent, that is side by side, memory location in the RAM. So here in array, all the data are stored in the same variable, but in contiguous way in side by side. So we know this array, but what is the use? The efficient way, this is an efficient way to store multiple values by their indices using their indices. Now coming to indices, all the variables are stored in the same variable, but how can we differentiate all these variables? Because having similar data types, they can be stored in the same variable, but these variables are different because of their indices. And similarly, now it becomes useful for us to loop through them and use different data structures also. Now declaring and creating an array. Now coming to declaring and creating an array, it's become important for us to know that there is we have to create and we have to declare the different types of array. Why? Because we have to do multiple operations on different of the values stored there, so it becomes important for us. Now coming here, we have to initialize the array first by different data types should be different. So data type followed by the square opening and closing of square braces followed by the array name, that is the variable, equals new data type. This is the creation of new array. New states that this is the creation of new array. This is a new array having data type this, and the size of the array is also specified within the square braces only. Here within the square braces we will specify the size of that array. Now coming here, we will giving the data type as int. Here we will be giving the data type as int and opening and closing square braces followed by the name of the array, which is the number. This is a number array having equals. This is a new array, and having integer data type and having only 5 variables. It can hold only up till 5 variables, not more than that. We should be clear about that it can store only 5 variables and not more than that. Now we can assign now we know that we can specify the value directly. We can specify the value directly or specify dynamically. If we know the value, we can specify it directly, or if we don't know the value, we have to specify it dynamically. Now if we know the value, int should be the data type, and the opening and close, this is an array. This shows that it is an integer array having all the number. This is the numbers array. This is the number array. The name of the array is numbers, and within the curly braces we can fix there 5 numbers as we are doing here. We are fixing 5 numbers here. In this way we can purposely assign values to all these numbers in array, and similarly for getting all those numbers, for printing all those numbers, we have to state that system.out.println number of 0 by indices, because every array elements is having is stored at particular indices, because all the array members are having the same data types, and they can be differentiated only by their indices now, because all having same data type are stored in a single variable, but they can be differentiated only by their indices. Now number is the name of the array, and zeroth position element. For getting the zeroth position element, we are writing this number of 0 to represent that this is the zeroth index element. Similarly, we can write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Similarly, now moving further, traversing array. For traversal, we have to use the for loop. For int I equals 0, I less than numbers dot length. This function this gives the length of the array. This gives This method gives the length of the array and I plus plus. In the initial line, we are initializing the value of int I equals 0, means we are finding the initial length, means first element of the array, and then the array length I should be less than the array length, and then I plus plus. So for printing these elements in the array, we should be writing system.out.println and number of I, numbers, this square braces, within that we should be writing I. 0 I means it starts from 0. First it will print the value of 0, then it will go I plus plus, means for first number, then I plus plus again will be run, second number, third number, until and unless the number is less than numbers the I is less, until and unless the I is less than numbers dot length, total length of the array. Similarly, for like using for each loop, we can use also use for each loop for this. Here it says that for int num, if it belongs to this numbers array, if it belongs to int num, if it belongs to that numbers array, system.out.println that num, println that num, system.out.println that num. If that number belongs to that numbers array, print that number, yeah. Now input and output using a scanner, input and output using a scanner. For dynamic array, we can use dynamic array also. For that we will be getting all the input, or we will be getting all the input through these scanner functions. Through this scanner function, we have to create the object name is scanner sc. This is equals to new scanner system.in, means we are getting all the elements through the system. So we should be including system.n int array, and arr is the name of that array, and array is opening and closing square braces following the name of that array equals new int 5. This is having a new this is following a new integer. This means that we are assigning this array with a integer value a 5 of the different value. Means this is the length of the array is 5. It should be not including six elements, it should be including only 5 elements. Now traversing through this loop, we will be using for loop only, and now going through this loop, we will be initializing for loop as int I equals 0, I less than arr dot length, and I plus plus. And similarly we can be printing the array elements, arr of I equal, we will be getting all the elements. First for the input, arr of I in the initial I value will be 0, then I plus plus, until where? Until the array dot length, until that length. Arr of I less equals sc dot next int. This is the method for getting the integers value, and this is the object name dot next int, for accepting the integers value. Similarly, for getting the output of this array, we should be writing again the for loop for int I equals 0, I less than arr dot length, I less than arr dot length, I plus plus. First the value will start from 0, then the length plus plus, I plus plus, and that should be less than array dot length, but total length it should be less than 0, less than the length, because we are starting with the 0 matlab first element before to that 0th position, so it should be less than arr dot length. So system.out.println element, this is the message, plus ith element plus arr of I means the element arr of I, this gives the element of that array, arr of I, this gives the element in that array index. Now common array operations, there are some common array operations, we should be going here right now. According to this, to going through this, we should be find the sum of the elements. We have to add all the elements in that array. For that, we will be going through the for loop. Initially we should be having the sum value as 0. Initially we are giving the sum value as 0, because if we will give the sum value as some fixed value, then the addition of all those elements will be worsened. Addition will be added to the index value we have given, to the value we have given to the sum. So initially we will giving at 0, and then only it can calculate the total summation of the value. The first after that we should be following the for loop for traversing through the elements, and then coming to the sum plus sum. This is a shorthand way of writing sum plus sum arr of I. This shows that sum equals sum plus arr of I. In the initial, arr of I means 0th element will be added to sum. After that, I plus plus means first element will be after that proceeding elements. Similarly, total summation will be found out using this sum value. Now coming on to the finding the maximum element in that array. Finding the maximum element in that array. If we will be if we will give the first element, if we will make the first element only as the greatest value, then going through the for loop. After the for loop, we will be writing if ar of I matlab ar of first I means first element. If that first element is greater than the max which is given to the 0th element only. If it is greater than the max 0th element, then give that max to that first ar of ith element. If ar of I is greater than the max in the first element, then the max will be that element, that new element. This new element, when it is greater than the new element is greater than the max, then the max will become that new element only. Yeah. So the so the max value will be that element only. And now coming on to the two dimensional array. Like we follow this was the first one dimensional array in which we have only a row where all the elements were arranged in a single row only. Now coming on to the two-dimensional array, we have rows and column. Both are here, rows and column. Here we have to here first we will be initializing the array at int arr int open close braces 2 times, and the matrix is the name of that array or variable, equals new. This is a new array having 2 rows and 3 columns. 2 rows and 3 columns. Remember, 2 rows and 3 columns. Now coming on to this int two square braces, open and closing 2 square braces followed by the matrix, which is the name of that array, and within the curly braces we will be giving 2 curly braces. Within a single curly brace, we will be giving 2 curly braces. In the first curly braces, we will be writing 1 2 3 4 5 6. It has 2 rows, 1 2 3 1 2 3. It has 2 rows, 1 2 3. It has 2 rows, 1 2 3 and 4 5 6. Having the 3 columns, 1 4 1 4 2 5, and similarly 3 6 also. So 2 rows and 3 columns. We can very well make it out here. And now moving on to the for traversal through this array, we have to assign for loop having int I equals 0, I less than matrix length, and I plus plus. For the second column, for the second row, or for the different element in that column. For that, this is the row part, this is the first row part, and this is the columnar part. For I equals 0, I less than matrix length dot I plus plus. This is the red part. And now we have to go to the column part. And for that column part, if j equals 0, j less than I, means in the first for I means I will be 0th only, and length I less than length, means here we are having the 0th column, 0th rows only. 0th row matlab first 0th row, 0th for the 0th row we have the different columns. For moving to these columns, we will be writing matrix I of I dot length, matrix I of 0th length only, 0th row only, and for that length we will be finding the different columns. They have the 3 columns, we know that. So printing out the row and element in the column, for that we will be writing system.out.println I of j. So it will be done here, system.out.println, system.out.print. Here it will be doing all the print all the columnar elements will be printed in the single row only. And for the next line, moving to the next line, we will be writing system.out.println, and this will help us in moving in the next line. Now this is it, and we'll move on to the next topic in the next class. Thanks.